The world, as we know it today, could be termed as a complex organism, forged to its present reality by its most dominant creation, humanity. The world's evolution can literally be traced and connected to human activities and interactions throughout the centuries. Today, we look at the earliest human civilizations, their makeup, achievements, and why they are still relevant. The Mayan Civilization. The Mayans were indigenous people of Mexico and Central America who inhabited the territories of modern-day Yucatan, Quintana Roo, Campeche, Tabasco, and Chiapas in Mexico, and Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and Honduras. The history of the Maya people can be divided into three fundamental periods: pre-classic, classic, and post-classic periods. Significant agricultural developments and village establishment were before the pre-classic period. The pre-classic period, or Olmec period, 2000 BCE to 250 CE, saw the formation of the first advanced societies in the Maya region and the beginning of shamanic religious practices. The classic period of the Altaijan period saw a massive population increase of the Mayan population and the development of great urban centers with monumental architecture, including prominent temples with elaborate stucco facades. In the post-classic period, the great cities of the Maya were abandoned. No concrete reasons have been attributed to this mass migration, but historians have suggested climate change and overpopulation. All the same, the Maya were a distinct ancient civilization. They constructed massive observatories and meticulously recorded planetary movements using a sophisticated writing system that combined pictorial and phonetic characters. They also made predictions about the position of celestial objects that came true years later. Indeed, the Mayans' understanding of the movements of Venus, Mars, and the Moon inspired their famous timekeeping system. This system includes intricate interlocking calendars that timed their agricultural activities and religious rituals to correspond with specific astronomical arrangements. Indus Valley Civilization. The Indus Valley Civilization is among the earliest Near East and South Asia civilizations. It is also known as the Harrapan Civilization or the Sarasvati Civilization. This civilization lasted from 3300 to 1300 BCE. The Indus Valley Civilization site spanned northeast Afghanistan to Pakistan and even northwestern India. The civilization got its name from the Indus River alluvian plain. Since this civilization spanned over 2 millennia, historians have classified the Indus Valley Civilization into distinct periods. These periods are the early Harappan, mature Harappan, and late Harappan phases. The early Harappan period was characterized mainly by agricultural development, the establishment of trade networks with other civilizations such as Egypt, crop farming, and the keeping of livestock. This period was also characterized by tool production and ceramic work. The construction of great cities and urbanization marked the mature Harappan period. This period was a dramatic shift from the early Harappan period, with the construction of more than 1,000 cities throughout the region. The Indus people built cities such as Ganerivala and Lothal around this period. The final and last phase, the late Harappan period, saw another dramatic shift from the previous era. This was negative in impact. This period saw the steady decline of the civilization, which could be attributed to large-scale immigration from the area. This migration could be factored to climate change characterized by floods, drought, and famine. Ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt was one of the longest and most advanced civilizations ever known on Earth. This was a civilization in northeast Africa located in the Nile Valley. This great civilization is thought to have begun around 3100 BCE, consisting of megacities ruled by kings known as pharaohs. Under the pharaohs, the Egyptians flourished for thousands of years and became famous for their innovations in several scientific domains. For instance, they thoroughly understood what would later become arithmetic, astronomy, and anatomy. They were adept at mending broken bones and stitching wounds, leading to the claims that they invented surgery. The ancient Egyptians were also great writers. They created the hieroglyphic writing system on their own, which consisted of hundreds or even thousands of alphabetic, syllabic, and logographic symbols in stone. This ancient culture also invented several derivative writing systems written on papyrus, a sturdy material formed from plant pith widespread throughout the floodplains. Ancient Egypt outranked many of its contemporary civilizations due to many factors. One was their ability to adapt to the conditions of the Nile River Valley for agriculture. 2, they had a high population with highly evolved societal systems and a defined culture. 3, they had a stable form of governance and a well-trained military, giving them an added advantage. Many of ancient Egypt's accomplishments include quarrying, evolved construction techniques employed in constructing complex structures such as pyramids and temples, highly mechanized crop production systems, including irrigation, new forms of literature, and many others. The Inca Empire was an ancient civilization that existed in pre-Columbian America. The Inca civilization is believed to have begun in the Peruvian highlands in the 13th century. Their empire was the largest in that part of the world, spanning from Quito in the north to Santiago in the south. The Incas conquered people and exploited the soil in a variety of environments, including plains, mountains, deserts, and tropical jungles, unfazed by the frequently harsh Andean environment. Famed for their distinctive art and architecture, they erected impressive structures wherever they conquered. Their beautiful terracing, roadways, and mountainside settlements continue to astound visitors today at such well-known locations as Machu Picchu. One thing that set the Incans apart from other civilizations was their lack of distinct writing format. Instead, they relied on their own unique methods to get by. For example, they used knotted strings to keep records and to communicate. They also used a barter exchange system as a form of commerce in place of currency. The Incans also built extended travel networks that covered the entire empire to shorten travel time. They also built large and complex structures that served as places of worship for their numerous deities. This civilization was one of the shortest, as invaders halted their existence. The Phoenicians. Phoenicia was a prehistoric civilization made up of separate city-states along the Mediterranean Sea coast that extended into what is now northern Israel, Syria, and Lebanon. The Phoenicians were an influential seafaring culture renowned for their enormous ships decorated with horse heads in homage to their deities. The most important spiritual and religious centers in Phoenicia were Gebal, Byblos, and Baalbek, with Tyre an island city and Sidon a metropolis. Around 3200 BCE, Phoenician city-states started to emerge, and by around 2750 BCE, they were well established. From roughly 1500 to 332 BCE, Phoenicia flourished as a maritime trading and industrial hub. It was renowned for its prowess in shipbuilding, glassmaking, dye production, and the great expertise required to produce luxury and everyday items. The Phoenicians were most well known for being skilled shipbuilders and sailors who could navigate the Mediterranean Sea's frequently tumultuous waves. The Phoenicians initially developed the curved hull design at Byblos, where shipbuilding appears to have reached its pinnacle. The Phoenicians are believed to have invented glass due to their great expertise in glassmaking. They established the prototype for Egyptian faience production and the bronze and silver craftsmanship standard. The fact that similar objects made in the same method and vast quantities have been discovered in many regions with whom the Phoenicians dealt with suggests that they had mastered the skill of mass production. From Mesopotamia through Egypt and the Roman Empire, the Phoenician purple dye evolved into the typical decoration of royalty. All of this was made possible by the competition between the local city-states, the expertise of the sailors who transported the commodities, and the high level of craftsmanship acquired by the artisans who made the items. The city-states of Phoenicia flourished until 322 BCE, when the major cities were conquered by Alexander the Great. After his death, the region became a battleground for succession and empire between his generals. Sumer. Sumer was the earliest human civilization, whose origins can be traced back to 4500 BCE. This civilization was founded in Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, in a region known as the Fertile Crescent, located between the Euphrates and the Tigris River. This region had fertile soil, which facilitated crop farming and animal keeping. The Sumerians were ahead of their time, notably for being the first to sustain an economy through weaving, carpentry, pottery, and animal husbandry. It is no wonder, therefore, that they were also the first civilization to build cities. The most renowned cities include Eridu, Nippur, Lagash, Kish, and Uruk. Each city-state had its own king, having large populations of more than 30,000 individuals. Cities such as Eridu and Uruk contained tall temples and enormous palaces. The Sumerians also developed their own writing system, known as cuneiform, which is seen today on clay tablets. This writing system proved indispensable as it allowed the Sumer people to carry out trade, share stories, and even preserve their culture. The Sumerians were also pioneers in modern mathematics and science, developing the time system. They divided day and night into 12-hour periods, hours into minutes, and minutes into seconds. They also made great strides in fields such as astronomy and astrology by developing constellation systems. They also were the first to develop a system of education and agriculture. The Sumerian civilization ended after the rise of the Amorites in Mesopotamia, but the story of this ancient civilization remained and was recorded by ancient writers and documented in various texts, such as the Bible. In the mid-19th century, however, archaeologists unearthed their civilization and brought many hidden things into the open. Ancient Greece. Ancient Greece was an ancient civilization that existed between the 12th century BCE to 600 CE and spanned several millennia. Greece's geography greatly influenced its culture because, with few natural resources and surrounded by water, the people eventually turned to the sea for a living. Ancient Greece can be attributed to modern history through academia in fields such as philosophy, mathematics, history, literature, and even drama. Mountains cover 80% of Greece, and only small rivers flow through a rocky landscape that, for the most part, discourages agriculture. As a result, the early Greeks colonized neighboring islands and established settlements along Anatolia's coast, also known as Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey. The Greeks became skilled seafarers and traders who, with an abundance of raw materials for stone construction and great skill, built some of antiquity's most impressive structures. Agricultural settlements appeared across the Aegean Sea around 7000 BCE and grew into societies such as the Minoans and Mycenaeans. Indeed, the latter had a significant impact on the Greeks as they developed the first form of their language and worshipped several gods and goddesses who would eventually populate the Greek pantheon, such as Zeus, Poseidon, and Athena. They also inspired some of the most important myths of ancient Greece, such as the story of the legendary Mycenaean soldiers Achilles and Odysseus, and their exploits in the Trojan War. The Minoan and Mycenaean cultures had collapsed by 1100 BCE, and by the 8th century BCE, a smattering of independent city-states, including Athens, Sparta, and Thebes, had come to dominate the Greek world. Despite having distinct cultures, these city-states shared a language, religion, and an interest in innovation. Ancient Rome. The term Ancient Rome refers to the Roman civilization from the 8th century BCE, when the city of Rome was founded, to the 5th century CE, when the Western Roman Empire collapsed. Rome was originally a small town on the banks of the Tiber River. It includes the Roman Kingdom, 753 to 509 BCE, Roman Republic, 509-27 BCE, and Roman Empire, 27 BCE to 476 CE, until the Western Empire's fall. Early on, trade helped Rome grow in size and strength. The city's location provided merchants with an easily navigable waterway to transport their goods. As it grew in size and power, the city was ruled by 7 kings, from Romulus to Tarquin. Greek culture and civilization, which arrived in Rome via Greek colonies to the south, served as a model for the early Romans to build their own culture. They learned literacy, religion, and architecture fundamentals from the Greeks. Though trade contributed to the city's early prosperity, Roman warfare propelled it to prominence in the ancient world. The Punic Wars, 264 to 146 BCE, with the North African city of Carthage, consolidated Rome's power and helped the city grow in wealth and prestige. In the Western Mediterranean, Rome and Carthage were rivals in trade, and with Carthage defeated, Rome held nearly absolute dominance over the region. Ancient Rome's history spans several millennia, and ancient Rome can attribute its increasing strength and glory to its influential leaders such as Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, and Octavian. It's interesting to note that this great empire was brought down by a love relationship between Mark Antony and one of history's most renowned women, Cleopatra. But that's a story for another day. All these civilizations were unique in their own way. Each of them found ways to explain the world around them and invented means by which they could relate to themselves and everything around them. Each of these civilizations is still vital in today's world, as they offer us a sneak peek into what life was like in the past and how the world got to be what it is today.